Dylan in Denver. What is it about Janai that has made him such an important leader for this team?
Man, just seeing just the growth that he's made just from last year to this year, man. Just I watched him just work on a lot of things that he really wanted to work on, just to improve on, such as like his 3-ball has gotten a lot better just from last year to this year. I feel like this year, like he speaks up a lot more, and that's just growth within him, and that's what I feel like what makes him a great leader.
You know, first and foremost, all glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You know, Janai's a great competitor, and it's just been cool to see him kind of like take the pressure of really the weight of Auburn basketball and put on his shoulders and kind of just be there for us and, you know, have these huge games and carries for the season. You know, he's a hard worker, but I just want to commend him for his mental strength to just bear the weight that he does bear. Obviously, having the National Player of the Year race going on, but also wanting to win the national championship and wanting his team to win. So I just want to say, like, yeah, I think that's been the biggest difference from him. His jump from last year to this year was he's kind of able to sacrifice more and just kind of take on more of a mental strain for the team.
Shannon, you have one. Down front here on the left.
Christy Winter-Scott, Big Ten Network, Denver, this is for you. With regards to how you turned Michigan over yesterday 15 times and the ability to score 23 points off of those, what are you anticipating doing in terms of Michigan State, and how do you want to turn them over and be disruptive in the same way?
That's just Auburn basketball. We pressure the ball. We just try not to let our opponents run our offense. We just try to take their best players out of the offense, and that's what I feel like we're going to try to do tomorrow.
Let's go far
just
right.
Ball pressure, a lot of framing. That's probably about it.
Far right on the fourth row.
Justin Williams from The Athletic. Janai, Coach talked about your relationship with Pettiford a little bit last night. Can you just tell me, when he came in, what was he like? Was he quiet? Was he confident? And then maybe how?
He wasn't quiet. You know what I'm saying? He's from Jersey, so he has a little different type of energy to him. You know, he's not quiet though. He came in, you know, but he came in wanting to learn, wanting to compete, and wanted to kind of join what we had built. But that's what makes him special. And every night he steps on the court, he's trying to make an impact for us to win.
Let's go down front and on the right.
Robbie LaStellaBracteer.org. My question's for Dylan. How have you kind of seen the Auburn fan base grow and rally around you guys over the past couple of years? I've seen the pictures yesterday. The campus was crazy. It was loud in here. How have you kind of seen that build its way up?
You know, it's a testimony to the program that, you know, Bruce Pearl has built. I remember I wasn't here for it. I know I've been here for a long time, but his presser, he talked about buying tickets now because it's going to be hard to get a ticket in the future. And obviously, you see down the line, 10 years down the line, you know, it's impossible to get a ticket at home. But I kind of came in when we were just getting hot. Obviously, I came in 2 years after the Final Four run, so I want to give a lot of credit to that Final Four team in 2019 that kind of laid the foundation and allowed us to, you know, benefit from the fruits of their labor. It wasn't nothing that we've done. We kind of just continued to carry on the tradition and the torch that they've set on for us. But like I said, we're reaping the benefits of their hard work.
Let's go fourth row on the far left.
I'm Carlos Menares, Detroit Free Press. Johnny, Bruce said yesterday. Janai, I'm sorry. Janai. Bruce said yesterday that if Michigan could turn you over 15 times, that Michigan State could probably do 25 times. What do you see from their defense, and how dangerous are they, you know, from that side of the ball?
They're a good defensive team. You know, they like to get after you a little bit, but we got to do a better job taking care of the ball and limit our turnovers.
Second row on the aisle.
I'll just say Dylan and Miles, or anybody else wants to comment on it. You just talk about what the guys, the scout team guys, the walk-on guys, mean to you, and how important are they in getting you to this place?
I think the scout team, we have one of the best scout team 5 in the country. They do a great job of repping out other team sets and having us guard them, and they go on full speed at all times. So it's like we're playing a full game before we actually play the game. So I think we have one of the best scout teams in the country, player-wise, and they do a great job of listening to the coaches and learning the other teams' plays and stuff like that, so we can replicate it.
Dylan?
Yeah, just piggyback off what he said. You know, we do the best 5, you know, guys in the scout team jersey in the country. They're the unsung heroes because they give us a good look of what the other team does, and they do it pretty much sometimes even harder and even faster than the other teams do. And so they give us a great look, and I'm grateful for the scout team.
Third row on the far left.
Myron McCaffrey, ESPN again for Janai and Miles. Obviously, there's a lot of negative talk about the transfer portal, but what does this team's success say about the value of players picking the right teams picking the right players in the portal?
I think it's a test to the coaches and the coaching staff. You know, when I got here, BP brought me in because he thought I was a good person, and when he brought in more transfers like Chad, Denver, and Chaney, he said they were going to be good people that he was going to recruit. Same thing he brought in with JP and Miles. You know, they're good people. Turtle, Jaheim, he's a good person. You know, so I think when you're able to build a team how you want it, and you can organize it by getting good guys in a good system, I think is credits the team and allows us to be, you know, a really deep and in-depth team.
Miles?
The transfer portal is kind of hard navigating it, of course, because there's a lot of schools and great programs recruiting you. But for me, it was just the roster construction. I think we have one of the best rosters in the country, and that was a huge part in my recruitment. And the BP and the staff did a great job recruiting me, make my family and my people feel like family and stuff like that. So to me, it was a no-brainer to come here. I wanted to win, and this is why I chose to come to Auburn.
Let's go fourth row on the left.
And Chris Larkin, Detroit Free Press. As for Denver and Miles, defensively, the length that you guys have, particularly on the perimeter, how do you guys use that around the arc, and how do you feel that Michigan State's guards handle length?
I just feel like ball pressure is for sure going to be the key to the game. Just listen to our game plan. Our coach is going to come out with a great game plan. So whatever they tell us today during practice, that's what we'll work on. That's why we'll try and disrupt the offense.
Miles?
I mean, our jobs are just to make their other guards uncomfortable. And I think the coaching staff is going to put together a great scouting report in detail to go further from there. But the main thing is just our guards, we got to make them uncomfortable.
We'll stay on the fourth row on the left.
Matt Winslow with them live. Bruce, I was wondering, Michigan State's depth has obviously been a strength this year, but they've shrunk the rotation a little bit lately. What'd you think of them benching their center last night after starting all 35 games, and kind of the ability to do that, and what do you expect tomorrow?
Well, I'd say they'll probably go back to playing deep. It's historically been the way we've played. I've had 10 guys average double-digit minutes almost throughout my entire career. But last night we got down about 7. We played 8, and you know, the timeouts are longer, the halftime's longer, so you have a little bit more of a chance to rest your players. And yet, I thought fatigue was a factor in the second half with Michigan, and our guys, you know, managed to not succumb to fatigue. I think Michigan State's won a lot of games late and close because they were fresh enough to be able to win those games. So their depth could be a factor at the end of the game tomorrow. And so I'd like to try to play a little deeper if we possibly can, just to make sure that we've got enough in the tank to close it out.
Stay on the fourth row on the left.
Yeah, this question is for Bruce Pearl, Tony Garcia, Detroit Free Press. Bruce, Tom Izzo, I believe 8-2 in the Elite Eight. He's been to this stage quite a bit. Just your history with him, any past memories you have that you can share, and just your thoughts about.
Well, one of those 8-2s was against Tennessee, 70-69,
yeah.
And we had the ball with a chance to win it in a tie ball game. The shot clock, I think it was 20-something seconds. So we ran something. I just wanted to get a good look, and we got Scotty Hobson a pretty good look. He got fouled, and so Scotty made the first one. We're up 1. I think there's 8 or 9 seconds left to go in the game, and the head coach made a bad mistake. I put my 2 bigs. I had both 4 and 5 on the offensive free throw set. Wayne Chisholm and Brian Williams. Scotty misses the second free throw. They get the rebound in the scramble, outlet it, get it down the floor, we foul. They go to the line, make both, and win the game. And if I have, you know, my defense set, we have a chance to really win. They would have had to make a different play other than just a couple of free throws. So I haven't been late very often, but I cost my team in that moment. Tom Izzo's 10-0 in the NCAA tournament against the SEC. I bet you didn't know that. Pretty good. There's a reason, one of the reasons why I look at Michigan State over the years, and don't forget I was an assistant at Iowa, and so I've been familiar with Tom, and we were both assistants sitting in St. Cecilia's gym when he was working for Judd Heathcote and I was working for Dr. Tom Davis. They've always been as athletic as anybody in the backcourt. Michigan State has elite athletes in the backcourt. So therefore, like my athletes, they guard, they can score in multiple ways. And then his front lines are always big, strong, physical, play really hard. Sometimes better than others, but that's been the makeup. So Michigan State's always one of the most athletic teams in the SEC, in the Big Ten. Now, I think we won 6 or 7 in a row against the Big Ten. I bet you didn't know that. And the reason why is I think our athleticism in the SEC has been a factor against the teams that we played against in the Big Ten. It'd be interesting to see whether it's not as big a factor tomorrow because of how good their athletes. I'm obviously challenging my guards and challenging our athletes, but I think from that standpoint, it's an interesting matchup.
We have a couple questions on the right, back row.
Trevor Denton, Way 31. Dylan, I remember back in February you said that Bruce had recruited a roster of killers, some guys that aren't right in the head. How do you feel like the personality, the edge of this roster has helped you guys now that we're in the deep waters of March Madness here?
Yeah, you know, these guys got big balls, bro. So at the end of the day, you know, we got Tahad Pettiford, who's from Jersey. We got Chad, who's from, I don't know where you're from, Dominican Republic or wherever you're from. That's funny. No, I mean, but Bree does a great job of recruiting guys who just have that mentality. They don't want to lose. You know, he always tells us that you just have to hate losing. You have to hate losing. And so these guys just hate losing, and it's just been cool to see over the past couple of months how, you know, before the Texas A&M game, we were 8-0 on the road in the SEC. These guys keep competing, and if you keep competing, we end up being down 9, and we go on a however many run. It's just cool to see these guys who just buy in and just have the kind of killer mentality.
Fourth row on the left side, on the right side, rather.
Gunter Schroeder, USA Today. Coach, I wanted to speak a little bit about the elite athletes you said Michigan State have. They've actually been especially good at getting to the free throw line in these first 3 tournament games, doubled up their opponent in each of them. But what are some things you've been seeing from them that you'd want to limit in particular?
It's a great question. Michigan State shoots more free throws than anybody else in the Big Ten, or they're really close to it. So we've got to do a good job of defending without fouling. That's one of the keys. You know, it's interesting, guys. We had our first meeting after breakfast this morning, and we spent about 45 minutes on Michigan State. So you guys are asking all these interesting questions about their backcourt or about how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that. We are in the middle of it right now. You know, we're in the middle of figuring it out. So these guys, we don't even know exactly what our game plan is going to be. But one of them will be, you know, Michigan State does a great job of turning quarters. They do a great job of initiating contact. And I know in the game last night against Ole Miss, it was a very even game, but they doubled them up and going to the foul line. So we're going to have to do a good job of defending without fouling.
We've got about 4 more minutes with the student athletes before we let them go. Is your question for them? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Christy Winter-Scott, Big Ten Network. Janai, this is for you. Yesterday in the game, you all had 19 of your 48 rebounds on the offensive side and were able to produce 21-9 advantage on second chance points. Is that something that is just an organic situation for you all, or is that something that you are proactively trying to engage in getting those second and third chance opportunities to score?
You know, that wasn't a lot of it was off of our own misses. You know, we missed a lot of layups. So, you know, in order to make up for your missed layups, you know, you got to get the ball back for your team. And that's kind of what we kind of did. I think the reason why we went to the glass a little bit more was because of the missed layups. I feel like we would have capitalized a little bit more on just finishing. Coach harps to us about it a lot of times, just being able to finish around the basket and at a high clip. And yesterday we didn't do that. So I think the offensive rebound just came by, wanting to keep the possession alive.
Far left on the third row.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN again for Chad and Dylan. Coach mentioned athleticism in the SEC. Obviously, half of the Elite Eight is made up of SEC teams. How do you think that prepared you all for the run that you're on right now?
Chad first.
I think the coaching staff have prepared us very well. We played almost every team that's in the Elite Eight, so I feel like we're confident enough that, you know, we've been through those battles, and most of them we actually have won earlier in the year. So now we just got to go back to, you know, whatever coaching staff, you know, what they're going to do, what the game plan's going to be, and just take care of business.
Dylan?
Yeah, you know, the SEC is the best conference in the country, and it's been a gauntlet this year. Every game we played has been a quad one game. We had to bring it every single game, whether at home, whether on the road. And so we've been battle tested this whole year, non-conference or conference play. But the SEC has kind of prepared for that level of physicality, level of desperation that we do need in March Madness.
Got time for one more for student athletes if somebody has one. Let's go right here, and then we'll let them go.
Peter Rodriguez from AL.com. For Dylan, you know, BP touched on it just then about defending without fouling. How do you guys kind of keep that same aggressiveness but avoid getting in foul trouble against a team that, you know, likes to get to the free throw line and attack the basket?
Yeah, man, just being disciplined and resisting the urge to swipe down, resisting the urge to, you know, gamble on plays, resisting the urge really just to get the big time block or the big time steal. You know, we wall up and they make a shot, you know, just tip your cap and run back on offense and see if they can do it again. But other than that, I'm just being disciplined. You know, Tom Izzo's a very disciplined team, and, you know, to have a chance to beat them, we're going to need to be very disciplined tomorrow.
Very good, fellas. You guys are free to go.
War Eagle, baby.
War Eagle, baby.
And again, the breakout rooms are located in the loading dock area where the teams come in and out of the building.
Johnny, come here.
Okay. First question for Coach Pearl is going to be on the right in the fourth row.
Coach Justin Williams from The Athletic. On Tahad, I know you talked last night about his dad and your assistant. Is there anything else, though, that allows him to kind of thread that needle between being confident but not cocky, willing to come off the bench, willing to learn but still hitting those big shots in big moments?
I don't think I've ever had a player that has been as good as Tahad that never started. Oh, actually, he started one game, I think, because Denver was hurt, and had the least amount of noise from either the player or his family. It's just not been a factor. His dad's as hard on him as I am, and that doesn't happen all the time. And you know, you can coach him as hard as you love him. His dad loves him and coaches him hard, and he wanted him to play for somebody that he knew would coach him hard. I just think that Tahad feels prepared. I mean, you know, he's got a great stroke, and he's always played against older players. That's the one thing his dad did when he was growing up, is he always played him up, and even though he was small. And so he's been playing guys older than him his whole life, so what's the difference in the NCAA tournament?
Okay, since we have several questions on both sides, we're going to go left to right and back to left. So you guys determine the order, please. Second row, far left.
Jesse Doherty with the Washington Post. Bruce, the Elite Eight is all 1, 2, and 3 seeds. Does that feel like a symptom of talent consolidating among top programs? Is it hard to draw sweeping conclusions off one bracket? I guess, what do you just make of the lack of maybe what we would call Cinderellas in this bracket?
Yeah, I agree. I would think that that's probably a function of the talent pools, that the commitment in NIL to some of the high major programs. And I think you may have seen that in the football playoff too. The teams that were most invested in their student athletes were the teams that were able to be able to advance. I would love to see us get to a place where we feel like we're truly playing for a national championship because we're all playing by the same rules. And I'm really pleased that we're able to invest in our student athletes. The NCAA was late to doing that. The market has demonstrated that because of what these guys are worth and what this game is, you know, obviously what March Madness is all about. But there are more guidelines in professional sports to how you compensate your student your athletes than there are right now, and we've got to find a way to figure that out.
Let's go right down front here on the aisle, second row.
Philip Marshall, Auburn 247. Bruce, you got a lot of guys in your locker room that probably won't play. Didn't play yesterday, won't play. The scout team guys, the walk-on guys. Can you just talk about how important they are in preparing to play?
Yeah, I got this from Dr. Tom Davis. Dr. Tom Davis Hudd, they called it the gray team. And remember back in the day when you used to have those gray cotton T-shirts that you would wear that didn't have anybody's name on it, just a gray T-shirt. We called it the gray team, and I still have that. And so what it is 5 to 7 guys that are walk-ons, and I actually got a couple of them that are actually on scholarship, that are practice players. I don't like practicing best on best in season. We do it all preseason. We do it all summer. We do it all fall. But if you go best on best during your season, somebody's going to get hurt. And so I need to have, and then the other thing too is as our team advances from scout to scout to scout, you're building on your own system. I don't want to have my players playing somebody else's system. So the scout team this week, for example, ran Michigan stuff. They ran their OBs. They defended like Michigan. Now, they can't do it to the talent level that Michigan did it, but we can still run the same actions. And so our guys are getting a second look when they play in that game. And so those guys play, and when my great team has good practices, we usually have good performances. I'm sorry? Well, let's just say Darren Smith would definitely be one of them.
Third row on the far left.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN. Bruce, you've called Janai one of the best transfers we've seen. For him to lead this team to the Final Four and potentially beyond, what would that mean for him in college basketball history?
Well, I would think that he's got a chance to have been maybe the most impactful transfer in college basketball history with his 3 years running. Now, I think you're right. Lots of that's going to depend on how this finishes up. But we're a team made up of only one 5-star. One of the things I reminded my guys of, there are several guys on the Michigan State roster that were McDonald's All-Americans. I had one, and that was Todd Pettifer. He's pretty good. Most of our guys are, guys that were mid-majors or junior college or Division II, and so I'm not going to let Michigan State play the underdog card, even though we're number 1 seed and they're number 2 seed. No, they're Michigan State. They're Kansas. They're Duke. They're North Carolina. We're Auburn. We know our place, and we know what we're trying to go up against, and we know the uphill battle that it is when you play against a Hall of Fame coach and obviously a legendary program, And I've got to somehow I've got to find a way to win so that Charles Barkley can give Magic Johnson some crap and represent, because Magic's always floating those rings at Charles, right? He's always floating those rings, and Charles ain't got any rings. So I got to try to get some rings for Charles so he can float them back at Magic.
Down front here on the right.
Robbie, thestellarbracketeer.org. Bruce, is there a certain trait that Tom Izzo led teams possess that kind of helps them pull out late games? And considering both of you guys won close games yesterday, is that a trait that Auburn has as well?
I think this team this year has won some close games, won a majority of close games, especially early in the season. We had a lot of last possession games that we managed to win. Good free throw shooting, solid defense. Not beating yourself. I think the thing I would say of Michigan State is, this year's team is extremely deep, but they're always so well conditioned. They're not going to beat themselves in the sense that they're going to be smart about shots that they take and plays that they make. And I do think while they could miss a game full of shots, when it comes down to the last 5 or 6 minutes, they think they're going to bang them. They do. They believe they're going to bang those shots in, and they have all year. And then when they do get to the foul line, they shoot a great percentage. The challenge is this, okay? So Michigan's front line, big, physical, okay? And our bigs were able to be big and physical with their bigs. Typically what happens in officiating is they let the bigs play. There's more contact down in the post. The challenge with guarding Michigan State is their guards are the one that shoots all the free throws. Like for us, Janai Broom shoots more free throws than anybody else on my team because we go and we post up, we do some inside offense. But they let the bigs play inside. Then you get out there on a perimeter, and those guys are turning corners, and they're driving, and they're getting hit, and because that action takes out away from the perimeter, a lot of times that stuff gets called more than the contact on the inside.
Fourth row on the left on the out.
Jerry Humphrey III, AL.com. Bruce, looking at how you guys closed out the game last night, does it surprise you sometimes how fast your team can turn it on and dominate a game?
We obviously locked in defensively, and then the fact that we were able to we like to go to the hot hand. And when Denver banged a shot, he got the next two. And when Tahad banged a shot, he got the next 2 or 3. And Janai had a spurt. And so therein lies a spurt of ability. But the biggest thing was holding Michigan to what it was at 65 or 66 points or whatever it was, 65 points. That's why we won the game. We were able to turn them over. We were able to hurt them on the offensive glass. Michigan State's not going to give up 18 offensive rebounds, in case anybody wasn't aware of that. They're too good.
Back to the right on the third row.
Henry Patton, OA News. Bruce, it's the third game in a row. Dylan has led y'all in plus minus. The stats aren't always going to bear it out, but can you kind of quantify his defensive impact for y'all?
Yeah, well, Dylan Cardwell blows away every analytic that's out there. Like, you can't look at his stat sheet and think he's going to lead in plus minus, and he does all the time. So what does he do? He dominates the boards. He's the best defender on the floor. He doesn't turn the basketball over. You know, I think he's got a chance to play in the NBA because he can score in the air, he can defend any position, he'll rebound his position, and he can guard 1 through 5. You know, okay, so he can't shoot a jump shot. Well, but he's going to hand the ball to some guys that can shoot shots, and so I think he's got a real future at the highest levels.
Let's take 2 on the left over here, Shannon. Go ahead.
Bruce, Carlos Menars, Detroit Free Press. You said you're not going to let Michigan State play the underdog card. Who is the underdog in this game, and are you the underdog?
Auburn. This is the third time in our history we've gone to the Elite Eight. This is uncharted water for us. We're talking about Michigan State. We're talking about Tom Izzo.
Let's take one more on the left, front row.
Christy Winter-Scott, Big Ten Network. Coach, when you're planning and trying to get the blueprint for the scouting report, I know you said you're in the thick of it right now, but have you thought about how you're anticipating Michigan State will guard you in all aspects of their defensive schemes and how they're going to guard the pick and rolls, the slips, the short rolls, and the slot?
Yep. We know what they're going to do. Michigan State is one thing about a great coach and a great system, he's going to do what he's do. And he's not going to try to trick you. This is what we do, see if you can deal with it. We also know that they do a great job of guarding the three-point line and run people off the three-point line. They're not going to let us beat us from, they're not going to try to let us win this battle from 3. They're going to make us make tough 2s and try to defend us without fouling us. And so, that said, that's where we got to go. Because they guard differently than, say, Michigan in certain ways, we'll run some of the same actions, but we'll get different looks out of those actions based on the way Michigan State guards. And, we'll have to guard Michigan State a little differently because Michigan, 6 out of Michigan State's top scorers are guards, 6 out of 7. Last night, the 2 leading scorers for Michigan were their big kids. So it's a completely different matchup for us.
Back row on the right.
Trevor Denton, Way 31, just asked Dylan this, but he said you recruited this roster of killers, guys that aren't right in the head. Where have you seen that help you guys now that we're in the deep waters of March Madness?
Well, I think what you also heard was that I promised Janai Broome that I'd bring in guys that were good people, that he would want to be friends with. And I made that promise to all of them. Yeah, Chad Baker's a killer from the standpoint of his ability to just go out there and make plays and make shots, and he's very passionate and fearless at times. Tahad is a different personality than Chad, but also demonstrate great fearlessness. But they have really good character. They're really good people. They're really good friends. There's a love to them that exists, and we work really hard at trying to bring in those kind of people, guys that are going to make sacrifices. You want to be in a great team, you got to make sacrifices. You got to share, and you got to hold each other accountable, and I think that's also a big part of what this locker room is all about. This is a team of faith. You see, every time that they make a 3-ball, they're calling God. That's what they're doing. I'm getting emails and I'm getting voicemail messages from parents of 8-year-old girls going, my daughter banged her first 3 and she called God. And the parents were so excited about it. Now what that also does, it gives me an opportunity as a teacher to say, okay, listen, If we're going to call God and we're going to do that, then we can't act this way or that way. That's why we've graduated 46 kids in 11 years. Auburn basketball has graduated 46 student athletes in 11 years. I tell you what, you go look in your high major, go look. It'd be really hard to find anybody graduated any more than that. And that discipline and accountability, plus the faith factor, is really what the chemistry of our program is all about, not just recruiting a bunch of killers.
Fourth row on the left side.
Chris Solari, Detroit Free Press. Bruce, I wanted to ask you about two Michigan State players in particular. One, obviously, Cohen Carr, you had recruited him. Just what you've seen in his growth and development over the course of the season. And then secondly, we've talked a lot about the point guards and how much they mean to Izzo's program. Jeremy Fears, where have you seen his progression over the course of the season?
Yep. Well, first of all, next time I get to the Elite Eight, I'm going to have to bring more people from the Auburn newspaper, because how many Free Press guys you guys going to let in here? I mean, got one in the back, too. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, pronouncing number 55's name for me again. Okay, Colin Carr. An incredible athlete, incredible toughness and work ethic, and how he impacts the game. You would call he was raw as far as his potential, right? And with time, he's gotten more skilled. He's handling the ball better. He's explosive, but he's under control. He's shooting it better. He's got touch, free throws, just great growth. And understand, Fears, know his dad, know his brother. His brother played against Oklahoma, right? Incredible talent, incredible gift, fearless, a killer. And, they've got two terrific point guards that can play make and can score. And obviously it's been a great position for them. Miles Kelly and Denver Jones are really solid defenders. And our guards are going to get a real test as far as their ability to stay in front of Michigan State's guards. It's going to be a real challenge.
Back row on the left.
Ike Jones with the War Report in Auburn. Coach, you just talked about Denver Jones a little bit, and you've been championing him as one of the best defenders, on-ball defenders. Do you still feel like he's not getting enough credit for how well, particularly last night, Trey Donaldson had a tough time being able to operate?
Well, I'd say this. I want to thank the Naismith group. Throughout the season, they watched Denver, and he was a nominee for one of the top 10 defensive players in the country. So I actually think, no, he's actually now getting a lot of attention in that regard. He certainly has earned it. And, his ability to be able to be out front in our defense sort of builds everything from the back. And if you have somebody that can do a pretty good job of pressuring the ball and contain the ball without fouling, that's a great place to start. As a result, Miles Kelly, Todd Pettifor, Chad Baker-Mazara those guards have all picked their defensive games up so that there's not such a big gap between them and our best defender, Denver Jones.
We got time for two more. Let's go right here on the left.
Peter Radicus from AL.com. You talked briefly a little bit ago about the matchup in the Elite Eight with Michigan State in 2010. I'm just curious if you see any parallels or similarities to that game or those teams and this game and these teams now.
Boy, Peter, I haven't had time to study that. You know what I mean? I'm barely through my third Michigan State game, right? So the parallels are that Tom's coaching and I'm coaching. That would be a parallel. Steven is played against Michigan State. He's now coaching against them. I thought we, shot a good enough percentage when we played against them. There's some stat that when you shoot 50% or better, like you got a chance to beat Michigan State, and if you don't, you got no chance. We actually shot 50% or better and lost. We blew away the stats. No, listen, it's going to take. Michigan State was 17-3 in the Big Ten. Michigan won the Big Ten tournament, but Michigan State won the Big Ten, and they are the best team in that league.
Last question here, third row on the far left.
Chris Torch, Blue Ribbon Yearbook. BP, you've said that you made the deal with Janai and Dylan that if they stayed, you'd start them. Could you have imagined this journey coming this far with that configuration? Because it's not commonly done in today's basketball.
Yeah, and what's also not commonly done is I don't think I can ever remember in I don't know how many years I've been coaching, 40-something, whatever it is, ever in a preseason telling a player who had never started that I promised if he came back he'd start every game. And that was Dylan. Dylan played for me as a freshman. After his junior year playing behind Kofi Kaufburn at Oak Hill, hardly played. So he transferred to McEachern High School. And the Atlanta Athletic Association, or the High School Association, in their infinite wisdom, denied him the ability to play his senior year. Terrible. Poor kid, single mom. All he's trying to do is go to McEachern College Preparatory School, go play with Sharif Cooper and a great group of guys, and somehow, because he didn't transfer the right way, they made the kid ineligible. Shame on them. He doesn't play his senior year, but we still take him to Auburn. Plays his freshman year, doesn't start, plays. Then I bring in Walker Kessler. What do most kids do when you bring in Walker Kessler to play the position? They transfer. They flee. Not Dylan Cardwell. The following year, okay, he's going to be a junior, pretty good player. What do? I bring in Janai Broom. What do most guys do? Flee. Not Dylan Cardwell. He stays. Stays another year with Janai. Always coming off the bench, playing 10 to 15 minutes. So finally, we brought him in the season over and said, look, if Janai comes back, two things got to happen. You either need to leave because it's not fair to play you behind him again. You deserve more. Or I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna start you two. I'm gonna start two of you every game together if you stay. And the other thing I did, we lost Jalen Williams, who was one of our best players a year ago, and I did not go recruit another starter out of the portal. We didn't. I empowered Chaney Johnson, Dylan Cardwell, and Janai Broom, and I rolled with those guys. I said, I'm rolling with you three. They were all going to be seniors. 3 frontline guys, usually not enough to get through the season. And when we recruited Turtle, Jaheim Hudson, he was a backup at SMU, and Jaheim knew coming in, look, you got a chance to play on this really good team, but these 3 seniors are really good. Jaheim said, you know what? I want to be part of a great team. And you know what, Coach? I'll work my way onto the floor. I will. Janai Broom turns his ankle at South Carolina. Jaheim Hudson plays at Georgia when they were nationally ranked. Had a big game in that game. We beat Georgia. If we don't beat Georgia at Georgia, we don't win the SEC. Without Jaheim Hudson, we don't win the SEC. Our guys don't have rings without a guy that's my 9th or 10th man. But the point was just to empower the kids. A lot of times coaches will recruit 13 guys, put 13 guys out there, promise them everything, and say, look, you guys figure it out. Iron sharpens iron. I don't believe in that. I got 11 kids on scholarship. I play 10 guys double-digit minutes. And as a result, I think our guys trust us.